Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Seekers of the Supernatural. I'm your moderator, Tony Spera, of course, along with Ed and Lorraine Warren tonight, and a special guest named Paul, who has quite a tale to tell us. This case is about the old Worcester mansion. It's in Connecticut, now a restaurant called Carousel Gardens. Now, I'd like to start, if I could, with Ed first. We'll get to Ed, Lorraine, then with Paul, to find out about this intriguing case right here in Connecticut. Ed, could I ask you about this mansion, of what first brought this to your attention?
Well, the very first thing that I ever heard about the Carousel Gardens was the fact that it was haunted. And we had two young women come to our house one day. They would videotape different weddings and affairs at the Carousel Gardens. And they put on this tape for me, and they said we left it running upstairs where they had all the gifts for the wedding set out and everything, and they walked away. And all of a sudden, a shadow ghost moved right out in front of the camera. Well, when I seen that, of course, I was shocked, because very few people ever get film of a shadow ghost. And I had them back it up, and sure enough, that's what it was, a genuine shadow ghost. So I had to know more about the Carousel Gardens. Lorraine and I went there. We met the proprietors, Paul and Debbie, and very nice people. They showed us around. Lorraine immediately picked up the fact that it was haunted. Mm-hmm. And we heard many tales from the waitresses, the bartender. When women would go into, for instance, the ladies' room, many of them would be hit by a dime, a 10-cent piece. We don't know what the meaning of that was, but it would just appear out of nowhere, hit them on the shoulder or on the face or the head. And then people would be sitting there eating. And one night in particular, I remember we heard a commotion. We were in one of the other rooms, and we ran in, and the people were all standing up, very excited. It seems that at this one table where this elderly lady was, her glass was probably a foot away from her, and suddenly it went up into the air and exploded. Mm-hmm. Now, about 5 feet away was a sergeant from the Bridgeport Police Department. And that's an intriguing detail.
Yeah, let me tell you
about that one.
Well, what had happened, we were doing a seminar that night there, Tony, and you were speaking, and then Ed was going to be speaking. Well, I'm waiting for my turn, and I walked in to what was Horace Wister's bedroom, one of the bedrooms on the second floor of this man.
I have a picture of Horace right here. I don't know if we could.
No, that's his father.
This is his father.
That's
what
his
is
father,
his name?
William Wister.
I don't know if Paul wants to get over to, if we want to go to this shot here.
If you can, if Paul can go to
This is William
that.
Wister?
That's the man who built that mansion. Mm-hmm. He's the man who built it.
I might as well show the picture of the mansion while we're at it. That's the picture
now
of the
that
mansion.
house wasn't haunted.
What are all those?
That's electromagnetic energy, which of course spirits use to manifest themselves. But many times people have seen spirits moving across the rooms upstairs, lights going across the rooms, so forth, levitations, footsteps on the stairs. I can remember one night there was another commotion. We went out and a ghostly form was going right up the stairs, up to the third floor.
Yeah, I was there. Now, on the second floor, Tony, off to the right, the two windows off to the right, there, Horace's bedroom. Now, I had gone in there just to sit down for a minute, and as I walked in, there were 4 people sitting on the far wall, and this sergeant and his wife were sitting on the side wall. And I didn't know who any of the people were at that time. Now, one couple, where the foursome was an elderly couple, an older couple, and they were there with their daughter and son-in-law, I was to find out later. Now, in front of the elderly lady, kind of off to the kind of side of the table, this stemware glass went up very slowly, like this, in the air, to my amazement, watching this thing, and then it exploded into minute pieces. So when this happened, the sergeant, he noticed it, and of course the family. Now you and Ed came in about that time, and I went in to speak. at one point during the time that I was speaking, the older man came and stood by the door. So I excused myself for a minute and went over to greet him. Come to find out, their last name was the same as my maiden name, which is Moran. And he asked me if I knew a Steve and Mariah Moran from County Clare, Ireland. And I said, well, a Steve and Mariah Moran from County Clare were my grandparents. And he said, then I believe I'm related to you.
And being almost St. Patrick's Day, we have to give a little plug for Ireland.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that was one of my first things to witness. Now another time, I was across the hall in what was Ruth's bedroom. Now these were two children of Mr. Wisters and his wife. Now Ruth's spirit is really the one that haunts this Carousel Gardens restaurant. And I was in there, I was talking to you. You said to me, why don't you go in the other room, because we were having a class that night, and bring Ed in, something the three of us were going to discuss. And with this, I walked out the door, and her spirit went right up that stairway.
You saw that, right? You saw that, Lorraine?
Yes.
Wow.
The third floor.
I remember you commenting. I never saw it.
No, you didn't see it because you were still sitting down. Now, the very first time that Ed and I ever went there, it was a Sunday, and they had a Sunday brunch at that time, and we went there. And we were sitting there, we were talking, and this waitress came up to us and said, oh, there's people here that are very, very upset. They're very, very frightened because the mother and daughter went in the ladies' room and they were showered with coins.
Really?
That's the kind of hauntings I like.
That's
Let the coins keep coming.
yeah, but they're not frightening hauntings. They're beautiful hauntings.
I think at this point,
Yeah, we'll let Paul.
we'd like to introduce Paul, the owner. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me down.
Good.
It's a great honor to be down here with the three of you.
Glad to have you. Can you give us some insight on what's happening and what happened at your place?
Okay, well, to pick up on the story with the dimes, this woman was in the ladies' room, and these dimes took and fell down. Well, my daughter was in the same room with Ed and Lorraine, and they were in the Worcester room, which is the formal dining room to the restaurant. And Lorraine asked Michelle about this Mancini child. And we couldn't to figure out, why wouldn't you just say, hi, Michelle? But she wanted to know about Mancini. And the Mancini child was a woman who was hurt on the Parkway. Well, at that same time, these dimes were coming out. And the Mancini child had I believe, a sergeant in the, her father was a sergeant or an uncle in the police force. So when we interviewed the girl with the dimes, her last name was Mancini, and it's just strange how all these coincidences just happen and happen. And Lorraine went over to the table and talked to the people and explained this is just something that happens. I guess it's an apport that opens up and these coins will come out.
Yeah, I'd like to explain about that. What we're talking about here are called apports, items that materialize into our dimension and sometimes dematerialize. That's where these dimes are coming from. Where the glasses explode, this comes through another phenomenon called telekinesis, which a lot of people think is the movement of objects. Actually, it's very high sound that's projected toward something fine, some china like glass, and it explode it. So that's what's happening at Paul's restaurant here. Continue, Paul. I just wanted to explain that.
Okay. So Lorraine went over and talked to the people and explained that it was just not a harmful thing. It's just things that happen. There was no evil spirits inside the restaurant.
It's a happy haunt.
It's a happy haunt that's inside there. And from that point on, we've had many dimes appear. Now, I've probably found over 100 dimes inside of the restaurant, 1 or 2 pennies, maybe a quarter. So obviously, it's these dimes have some meaning that's inside the restaurant. We haven't figured out what the meaning would be.
Wow.
And each one of these dimes I keep on saving, and I have a whole jar of them right now.
Now, the bartender, didn't one bartender have An incident occurred that was kind of scary one night.
Yeah, well, that right there.
Yes.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 patrons inside of the bar. It was late at night, and the cash register, it just moved out from the wall,
Yeah.
and there was enough room for it to fall straight down in between all of the woodwork and the front of the bar. It elevated, turned upside down, and just fell right into the floor.
Yeah,
Wow.
I remember that.
And it was just strange.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, but there was a few patrons that were in
Yeah.
there.
What's like
Right.
the first thing that you experienced yourself, Paul?
The first thing that I experienced was when I first purchased the place back in '93, that a bat appeared. And it's the first time that I've ever had a bat appear, and it seemed friendly. It would
Inside the restaurant?
inside the restaurant. It would fly from the dining room into the kitchen, and we weren't even open. This was in September, about 3 months before we even opened. And the bat did materialize and fly through. Well, I got the bat into one small room, and there's no way the bat could leave the room. And there was no way the bat was in there anymore. The bat had just dematerialized and gone. And then to come back to the bat, about 3 years later, the bat appeared again. And it was friendly. It would fly down, fly into the office. It would fly back out in the dining room. It landed on the large dining room wall. It walked about 40 feet. I went over with a little plastic container and caught the bat. It was just friendly. It wasn't going to be doing anything. Decided, it was cold out. This is in November now. I decided to let the bat go on the 3rd floor. There's a large area up there with 19-foot ceilings. And I let the bat go, and we haven't seen the bat since. It was just 2 times.
Wow.
We had people stay, investigators did stay at the Carousel Gardens.
Yes.
And I think it was like 2 nights, and they did get ghost globules. Maybe we can show some of those pictures of the ghost globules, which are round, sphere-like objects. These will be seen and picked up by the camera.
Okay, now here's
These
a
are
few
the
here.
outside. Yeah, that's outside the restaurant.
It's a gorgeous place.
Yeah,
It really
wanna
is.
focus in on that.
Victorian building.
You see
Only
those
in
around?
haunted areas where you find this type of phenomena. Can you turn that around? I think there's some more pictures there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can see some large ghost globules.
Yes.
Now this is the electromagnetic energy which is drawn from the plant life around the building, the trees, the grass, so forth. They will form into large globules, and then they will move about and sometimes go into a cigar shape and then go into a form of a ghost or an apparition.
I remember one night.
No, I showed this picture, but this is the same kind of thing materializing
That's
it? Or
the
is this
energy.
That's the electromagnetic energy
Yes.
that's drawn. This is what comprises the ghost. And that picture down here is very interesting that you have.
Okay, this one here is inside the restaurant. What is
Inside.
this all about, Ed?
One night, I think a young man was fooling around. He dressed up sort of like a black ghost-like figure.
Yes.
But what he didn't count on was that the ghosts were watching him. If you can close in on that mirror, you will see a large face looking out at you, a man's face. Can you close
Might
in
be
on
kinda
the
hard
mirror?
to see, but I can see it from here.
You can't
Can
close
you
in.
see it? I can
No,
see
you
it.
can't close in any. Yeah, look at it, hon. You
Oh,
see
yes,
it
all
right
right.
now.
I can see the
And
ghost.
that is one of
Yeah.
the ghosts of the Carousel Gardens. And it's right there where 2 young girls were standing one night, and the mother took pictures of them, and they had this ghost-like figure hovering right above their head. I think it's one of the best psychic pictures I've ever seen.
I
Right
saw
there.
that.
Yeah, you
so
saw it,
that
Tony.
spot.
Yeah. Now another night.
Here's another picture here. Let me just
What?
grab this. What is this all about? Look at this one. Look at that.
Oh,
Look at that
that's
there.
downstairs.
Yes, more electromagnetic energy. If you go there in the evening, this is when you pick up most of these types of pictures. You see all the electromagnetic energy on the right-hand side of the picture. They're forming, some up on the left. These will form into ghost globules, and then again, you might see the ghosts, which will be hovering about the stairs or going through the hallways
Right,
there.
right. And then you got a picture that's downstairs, I
That-
believe.
That's right at the entrance.
Right at the
Those are
entrance.
psychic light rods
Look
that
here?
you see there.
Yes.
Right there.
Thinking away there. Psychic light rods. This is another type of phenomenon besides the ghost globules, and that's at the entranceway, where a lot of people have felt upon entering there presences.
So this,
ghostly
so
Well,
presences.
this
you
is,
feel it
when you
too.
get this kind of thing, this is evidence of ghostly
Oh, sure.
phenomena,
Yes,
right?
Sure.
yes, yeah.
But not only do we get the pictures, these incredible pictures you have here, but recordings, footsteps, voices, which we call magic whispering and so forth. But the good thing about the Carousel Gardens is nobody's ever been hurt.
Oh, no.
It's an intriguing place just to go into and to see if you can witness some kind of phenomena.
You know, another thing.
Well, every time you go in there, Lorraine, you feel something,
Yes,
don't you?
yeah, and certain nights far more than others. Now, there was a bad fire that happened in this town, a real bad fire. And the building that Mr. Wister had owned, this huge, big shop that he had owned, burnt that night. Just prior to that and just after that, hauntings were really going on to a tremendous extent.
You know, you got to remember that this man and woman, brother and sister, the last 14 years of their life,
They lived in that house.
they lived in that house and didn't speak to each other. This, of course, accumulates a lot of animosity, a lot
Yes.
of anger, a lot of hatred. Spirits are drawn to that. Now, a lot of people, when they die, they pass over, they go on. Apparently, Ruth here wants to stay on. But Ruth's spirit will draw other spirits. But these are not demonic, these are not devils, these are not demons.
Is the earthbound
These
there?
are spirits of
Yes.
human beings, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody could ever be hurt there. I think what they're trying to do is just to show that they are there. That, you know, we're still here. We want you to know that we're here. That's what it's all about. Doors will open and close. Lights
Noises.
will go on and off.
Noises.
Sounds of footsteps. What we call magic whispering. It's all been experienced at the Carousel Gardens.
One night, honey, we taught there. We taught in this building for a period of time.
Or people love to go to a haunted
God.
Carousel Gardens and just go in there and take some classes.
Oh,
We used
God,
to do
yes.
that some years ago.
And so this one night, there was two men, and they were from the Boston area. They used to commute all the way down, and they had a brand new digital camera. And I was coming out of the carousel. We were going to go and have coffee after class. And I've never seen anything so amazing. You know how you see it on the screen with the digital cameras? It was raining ghost globules. And it was a beautiful, clear night, and it was just all over ghost globules.
You see, that's the kind of thing we look for. Today, with the advent of the camcorder, with the digital cameras, we're getting things that we could never get before.
No.
In fact, I think we have 3 pictures there of the Tower of London, one of the most haunted locations in the world.
Yeah, what happened to them?
Now, we've taken people to London and to England all over, and we've never gotten these types of pictures before.
Okay, I have 3
Here you
pictures
see
here.
the famous Tower of London.
If we can focus
But
in on
that's-
this.
now
See these
that-
look at the globules over here.
Ghost
Yes,
globules, just
that's
like
right.
we have at the Carousel Gardens. Here's some more.
Now, there you go, yes.
Now you see a number of ghost globules there, but we've gone there with hundreds of people. We've never gotten pictures like this until just recently.
I see
Now
the
these are the
globules.
same type of phenomena that we have occurring at the Carousel Gardens.
That's amazing.
Which
Yes,
shows that
it is
it's
amazing
haunted.
for
Thousands of miles
comparison.
away.
Thousands of miles away.
Same kind of photo.
Yes, exactly.
That is,
Yes.
But I'll tell you, if you want to have a real treat, you go down there, and Paul and Debbie are very congenial people. They let you go through the rooms. You know, they're
they let
not
you take
afraid
pictures?
of-
Can you take pictures
You
here?
can take pictures
Oh,
there,
yes.
photographs. You can take recordings. They don't
So
mind
it's
at
good.
all.
So that's a good place to gather evidence.
Oh yes.
It's a
Because you're not
wonderful
really
place
worried
to
about
get.
anything
No.
evil there.
No, nothing evil.
But you want to get spirit
It's a
phenomena.
very relaxed atmosphere there, Tony. Very relaxed type of atmosphere in the place. So it's not like you're in some spooky, dark place.
And I have to tell you that Paul is the decorator here. He has kept the motif of that Victorian building
Yeah, that
the same
era.
as it was in the 1800s.
Now that's
You've
might
done a
have.
beautiful job on that.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you
have.
very much.
And
When was
that,
that place
probably
built?
has
built?
1895.
Can you tell us a little more about that? How it
Yeah.
was built? And
Sure. The land was purchased back in 1865, and sometime between 1865 and 1895, when the house was completed, and the Worcester family did move into it. It took probably 8 to 10 years to complete it, and from what I found in the town hall records, of a cost of $10,000. You got to imagine that the labor back then was only like 3 cents an hour.
you can't even build a room for that, right?
You can't even build a room nowadays for that. So the whole mansion, the 8,000 square feet, the 20 rooms that are in there, cost approximately $10,000 to build back then.
Oh my God.
He lived there for a period of about 24 years, William H. Worcester. Then he passed away in 1919. Then his wife passed away in 1926. And from 1926, from Anna Putnam Worcester, when she passed away, Ruth Worcester and Horace Worcester lived in the mansion. And for some reason, they got into a little scuff. This is later on, I guess, into the 40s, and I'd say the 40s. And when he passed away in 1956, they didn't speak for about 14 years. He lived on the 3rd floor, and she lived in the rest of the mansion.
Wow.
So she had everything else.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's
Imagine
just
two
amazing.
people, a brother and sister, living in a, they created all of that.
And neither one of them married. They both died not being married. And
When did
Maybe
she?
that's what she's looking for, a husband.
Yeah. When did she die?
She died in 1972. She was approximately 94 years old when she passed away. She died of natural causes. And she just loved and adored the house.
She must
I
have.
understand there's still relatives of theirs living in that area.
Yes, there is. There's Roberta King. She lives in the area. She's been very nice. She's come over to the restaurant and told me some stories and about it. I guess it would be her great aunt. And it's just very interesting talking to Roberta.
Wow. Do you know, today I was looking for a phone number, and I was going through all of these cards looking for a phone number that I needed and lost. And among them, I found a little thing that said Ruth Horace's picture and a phone number.
Really?
So somebody, honey, you've got to phone them. Somebody may have a photograph of her, and they gave me that phone number, and I saved it.
Well, let me ask you guys a question, especially Ed and Lorraine. Are those spirits of the Worcesters still haunting that place, or are there other spirits there now?
Well,
I
they
believe
probably
that
did.
they're there, of course, but you know, one spirit will draw another spirit. But like attracts like. These were not evil people. There was a lot of animosity and anger, but we have that in a lot of families. But I think, yes, their spirits are positively there, but what they draw in are human spirits. Nothing evil, nothing demonic.
No.
And
No.
this is a gateway to other worlds that we investigate. It's an ideal spot to set up cameras, recorders, see if you witness something, and you don't have to fear that something terrible is going to happen to you, because it's not. We've been there many nights. Lorraine and I have been all over the world. We've been in some of the worst areas, and on a 1 to 10, Carousel Gardens is probably a 2. But I call them happy hauntings. That's what these are.
So it's not like the Amityville Horror.
Oh no, no!
Oh,
it's
no,
not an
no,
Amityville
God,
horror,
no. Oh,
in
no.
sense.
It's
No,
nothing
it's no
like that.
Amityville
But you know, a lot of restaurants and buildings like this have been haunted for years and years. But what happens is some people go in there and they start using Ouija boards,
Yeah.
and that brings in something that's not so good.
In other words, they start getting involved in occult practices.
Yeah.
To our knowledge,
Nothing like that has ever
that
happened
nothing
here.
that has ever happened in this building.
And maybe some night, Paul,
Don't.
you and your wife and Lorraine and I can have a little get together, and maybe Ruth, we can invite her in, and Horace,
Okay.
and you'll give them a free meal, I guess, right?
For the ghosts.
For the
You
ghost.
got to pay.
For the ghost. But when Ed is saying about inviting her in, we're certainly not doing that through any Ouija board or any
No.
type
Now,
of
could
science.
this place have been
seance.
haunted prior to the Worcesters haunting it?
I don't know.
I don't
You think they
so.
started it?
I think it
I
started
think
with them.
I don't think so.
I think it started with them.
I would think, really, I mean, she died in the 70s, and then it went through transitions. It went through changes and like that, Tony. But I don't think anybody else ever really opened any
No.
doors or like that, because there's nothing evil in that place.
You get a good feeling when you walk in. It's not a bad feeling. It's not something you're frightened of. It's a feeling that you can't expect something to happen, but nothing frightening.
No.
Nothing that's going to kill you.
No,
nothing's gonna. No way.
I mean, it's over 100 years old.
The atmosphere is beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to enjoy the atmosphere. It's like walking into an 1800s house.
Yeah, it is.
Paul has kept everything just as
Almost
it was.
like
The
original,
woodwork,
almost.
the
Like
Oh,
redone,
yes.
but original.
It is. Yes, it is. I mean, now, you're living in a house that's almost 200 years old.
I won't go there at night.
But the thing is that that's not haunted.
My house isn't haunted.
Your
My
house isn't haunted, no.
Well, so what's
But
the
this-
lesson to learn on this whole thing? What's the lesson to learn from a haunting like this? Is there a lesson involved in this?
Yes,
Well,
positively.
I think survival,
What's the lesson, Ed?
Knowledge.
knowledge, yes, survival,
we can go
knowledge.
into a building like Carousel Gardens, and we can take recordings and we can take photographs, and we know that we are entering another dimension. We're going into worlds that very few people know anything about. But of course, being in this work for so many years, we understand what's happening there, and it's just a storehouse of knowledge as far as the paranormal goes. And nothing's ever going to hurt you there. You don't
No.
have to worry about that.
No.
And who knows? You might go there some night and see Ruth. In fact, she might even join you
Well,
for dinner. Who knows?
I think it's important for people today, Tony. I think everyone wants evidence,
Proof.
proof. They do. They all want
Proof
evidence.
that there's life after death.
Yes, and I think if you are able to get that in certain locations without, jeopardizing yourself and putting yourself in danger's way,
Well, as you can see, the electromagnetic energy outside
is
is just as prominent as inside.
yeah.
So people can go there and they can take photographs outside.
See, the amazing thing to me is this. I take pictures of my house outside. I don't get this.
You don't get that.
I
No.
take pictures of other people's residences. I
Yeah,
don't get
you don't
this.
get it.
No,
So I know this is something different than the
it
norm.
is. That's
right.
exactly
It's not like
right.
you take a picture at night and there's all
Well,
this
look at that
fog.
building. I mean, it's
Yes.
Because
it's
I
fog.
know people have taken pictures of this particular place on a crystal clear night.
Yes.
Nobody was smoking. There was
Right.
no car exhaust. There was no fog.
Oh, no.
They got the film developed, and this is what they got.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that right there, to me, is evidence.
Well, I remember, Tony, Ed and I, this one night, we were alone in Scotland, and we stayed at a place different than we had ever stayed in before. And looking out the window that night, I said to Ed, boy, doesn't it have a mystical feeling about it, right outside of this window. So in the morning, I took photographs out the window, just out the window. It looked like a little fairy setting. Oh, I got all of this in the daytime. Now, in most cases, you need to get this at night. It is much easier to take a psychic photograph during the hours from 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the
Well,
morning.
light shows up, it gets dark.
Yes.
Electromagnetic energy, of course, is light. That's why in the graveyards at nighttime you get such fantastic pictures. At the Carousel Gardens, this would be the best time, would be in the evening to get pictures like that. Paul and Debbie don't mind if you walk around, if you come in, if you take pictures, they welcome you in there.
So
We
you
do
think,
welcome them, right,
Yes,
Paul?
we
you think
do.
after 9 o'clock at night would be a good time
Yeah.
to go?
That is the
Well,
only,
anytime
yes.
after dark.
After dark.
It can be, 5:30, 6 o'clock. As long as it's dark and you get better pictures.
But in the summertime, of course, Tony, it's going to be 10 or 11
be
o'clock
later.
at night.
Well, it won't be that late. It'll be like, it gets dark around 9 or
Around
whatever.
9. Okay, around
It's
9.
not like
Inside
Scotland.
the building,
No.
inside the building, you don't have to worry about being dark because it
So
gets dark anyway.
we're almost out of time. But any last words, Paul, that you want to, any other story maybe you remembered real quick? Or
All right, well, with the picture that I have taken, I took it about 5 years ago. I had a wonderful picture outside, and there was a spiraling effect of the ghost coming out. It looked like
Really?
it came from Ruth Worcester's windows. It looked like there was energy inside, and a large formation formed by this one person. And another person was taking the picture, and the energy around the person made a dog appear on the back of the person's hair. So it
Wow.
just
Oh,
formed,
yeah.
and her favorite dog was a Pekingese, and it kind of looks like a Pekingese dog.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Just
Yeah, that's
recently, we had 2 young boys come. This is about 3-4 weeks ago. They have the very same identical picture that they took.
really?
You're
See?
kidding.
And what's strange about this, they promised to bring it back. I held it in my hands. I didn't want to give it up. And it's been 3 weeks. As if they came, took the picture and showed me. Now they've vanished.
Right. Oh boy.
So now we're on a hunt for them. We know they're out in North Haven someplace,
Wow.
and we have to find out where they are. But it was almost identical.
Well, there you have it.
One of our lectures. sometime.
They're
We're basically out of time.
Okay.
There you have it. The haunting in Connecticut of of the Worcester Mansion. So for Ed Warren, for Lorraine Warren, for Paul, for everyone at Charter, I'm Tony Spera. Have a pleasant evening.